I'd accepted a mission from the system. Jump into the world of a novel to save a 6-year-old girl who was destined to become an obsessive, unhinged villain. The system, which had taken the form of a calico cat I called Patches, found me 12 years ago. It offered me $20 million to redeem this world's broken antagonist. It took 12 years of raising her, but on her 18th birthday, her darkness rating finally hit 0. Mission complete. I took my $20 million reward and bailed, returning to my own world. I never imagined that the very next day, the system would come back, crying and begging me to return. It said the girl I raised had completely shattered her reality. I was floored. But it's only been one day since the mission ended. Patches, the system, cried even harder. One day in your world was 10 years in hers. 120 million. You in or out? A childlike voice echoed in my head. In. 20 million? I'll take the job. I answered without a second of hesitation. Forget 20 million. For 2 million, I'd probably kill someone. I impatiently waved a hand, cutting off the incessant chatter of the Calico Cat system in my mind. I was sick of being poor. An orphan in my last life, an orphan in this one. Did I have a reason to refuse? Not a single one. Mission objective: redeem the dangerously obsessive villain, Ava Callahan. Lower her darkness value to 0. Success: $20 million will be deposited into your account, and you will return to your original world. Failure: you will remain in the target world. The system, Patches, had a cute voice, but the terms were even better. I laughed. So even if I failed, I wouldn't die. A flash of white light, and the aches and pains in my body vanished. I found myself standing at the entrance to a grimy alley in a rundown part of the city. I was still wearing the same threadbare t-shirt, but my body felt like it did when I was 18, in peak physical condition. Target is straight ahead, at the very end of the alley, Patches prompted. I walked deeper into the alley, the air thick with the sour stench of garbage and mildew. At the far end, I saw her. 6-year-old Ava Callahan. She was as skinny as a bean sprout, so filthy I couldn't tell the original color of her clothes. She was fighting with a stray dog, just as emaciated as her, over a stale piece of bread. A few other kids her age were circling her, throwing rocks. Freak! Orphan weirdo, fighting a dog for scraps. Get her! The rocks pelted her tiny back. She didn't make a sound, just curled over, desperately shielding the half-eaten piece of bread in her arms. The dog barked furiously at her, and she snarled back, a low, animalistic growl rumbling in her chest. My heart clenched. That wasn't just her. That was me. That was me at 6 years old in my past life, nearly getting my leg broken over a slice of pizza. The ringleader, a husky kid, saw that she was ignoring them. He picked up a bigger rock, aiming for her head. Just die already. I lunged forward without thinking, but I was too late. Ava had been pushed too far. Like a cornered animal, she exploded, launching herself at the husky kid. Aya! A piercing scream cut through the air. She'd bitten off half of the kid's ear. Blood gushed everywhere. Another boy, frozen in terror, tried to run. She grabbed him, dragged him down, and snatched a loose brick from the ground, smashing it against his shin. Crack! The sound of bones snapping was sickeningly clear. She stood there, her face spattered with blood, a shred of flesh still clinging to the corner of her mouth. The venom in her eyes was so potent it felt like it could poison the air. I'm going to kill you all when I grow up, she hissed. All of you deserve to die. I was stunned by her ferocity. Soon, the kids howling brought the adults running. Several menacing-looking men and women stormed into the alley. Seeing the state of their children, their eyes turned red with rage. You little monster! I'll kill you. One of the men grabbed a wooden plank and swung it straight at Ava's head. There was no one behind her to protect her. I snapped out of my stupor and threw myself forward, wrapping my arms tightly around her small body. Thwack! The plank slammed into my back. The pain was so intense, I nearly blacked out. Fists and slaps rained down on me. I gritted my teeth, saying nothing, just holding her tighter. Stop it! I'm calling the cops. I roared with every ounce of strength I had. The adults finally stopped, cursing as they dragged their kids away. The world went quiet. The little thing in my arms was completely still. I loosened my grip and looked at her. Her eyes were still guarded and fierce. My heart ached for her. It's okay now, I said, my voice hoarse. You've got a grown-up watching your back now. I'm your brother." When she heard the word grown up, her body shuddered violently, as if I'd flipped a switch. The next second, she opened her mouth and lunged, sinking her teeth into the arm I'd extended toward her. Sharp teeth pierced my skin. A searing pain shot through me. Warm blood trickled down my arm, dripping onto her chapped lips. I didn't push her away. Instead, I smiled. With my free hand, I gently stroked her dirt-caked hair. "Go on, bite down. Harder. Let all out. It doesn't hurt. From now on, I'll take care of you." Her body went rigid. The pressure of her jaw slackened. Just a little. She looked up, and for the first time, a flicker of confusion appeared in those hate-filled eyes. I got Ava out of that hellish neighborhood. We rented a windowless basement apartment on the outskirts of the city. It was damp, cramped, with just one bed and a rickety table. But for her, it was paradise. To support us, I started working like a madman. I lied about my age to get under-the-table construction gigs. Under the blistering summer sun, I'd work shirtless, hauling wheelbarrows of scorching bricks up a dozen flights of stairs, my shoulders rubbed raw and bloody. Luckily, the system gave me a boost, so I never felt tired or sore. At night, I washed dishes in a restaurant kitchen. By the time I got back to our tiny basement, I'd all but collapse onto the bed. But seeing Ava's peaceful, sleeping face made it all worth it. "Host, she didn't get into any trouble today. Darkness value has decreased by 1%, Patches would tell me. The voice was my only comfort. In my head, I was already spending the $20 million. With that money, I could buy a house back home and never have to live this crappy life again. I'd gone through all this before in my own world. For me, it was just walking the same miserable path twice. Every cent I earned, I spent on Ava. I bought her clean, new clothes, and took her to get a haircut. When she was cleaned up, I realized she was a beautiful little girl, just painfully thin. Every payday, I'd stop by the market and buy a rotisserie chicken. The moment I opened a bag, the aroma would fill our small room. She would stare at it, practically drooling. "Go on, eat," I'd say, pushing the whole chicken toward her. "Aren't you having any Jacks?" she'd ask in a small voice. "I already ate out. That's something way better than this," I'd lie with a smile. Then I'd just sit there and watch her devour it, her little face shiny with grease. Seeing her so content felt like I was treating my younger self, the one who was so hungry he once tried to eat dirt. My own clothes remained the same, few worn-out items. Her closet, however, slowly filled with pretty dresses. I tried to be the parent I barely remembered, giving her everything without reservation. Slowly, she started to let her guard down. She stopped looking at me with those hostile eyes. When I'd drag my exhausted body home late at night, she'd leave a dim light on for me and hand me a steaming mug of hot water. She started calling me brother. The first time she said it, her voice was as quiet as a mosquito's buzz, but I heard it. That single word was sweeter than Patches announcing a drop in her darkness value. The system notified me that her value had dropped from the initial 100% to 70%. With the money I scraped together, I enrolled her in a local elementary school. On the first day, I held her hand and told her, "Ava, study hard. An education is your future. It's how you make sure no one can ever push you around again." She nodded solemnly. At school, she was still an outcast. She was quiet, and her gaze was always cold. Kids called her a stray, but she didn't lunge at them and bite anymore. I asked her why she didn't fight back. She looked down at her feet and mumbled, "You don't like it when I hurt people." I stroked her hair, my heart aching with a bittersweet warmth. Every afternoon, she would wait obediently at the school gate for me to pick her up on my beat-up moped. She'd hop on a back and wrap her arms tightly around my waist. With the wind whistling past our ears, I drove with my entire world on the back of my seat, heading home. In those moments, I felt like I had finally taken care of that lonely little kid I used to be. This mission didn't seem so hard after all, until one day, I got home from work early and saw her sitting at the table, writing in a diary. I snuck up behind her and saw the page, covered from top to bottom with my name. Jackson, Jackson, Jackson. 3 times flew by. In the blink of an eye, 12 years had passed. Ava had grown into a stunning young woman and was attending the best high school in the city. She was the school's ice queen, beautiful and aloof, the object of countless crushes. But she gave no one the time of day, still clinging only to me. I was a DoorDash driver now, though I'd upgraded to a newer used car. On weekends, when I was out making deliveries, she'd sit in the passenger seat, helping me keep track of orders and handing me the bags. A beautiful girl in a school uniform sitting shotgun for a delivery guy drew more than a few stares. People would whistle or point. She never cared. She'd just lean over and rest her head on my shoulder. Her childhood fear of thunder never went away. On stormy nights, she'd sneak into my room, pillow in tow, and slip into my bed. I'd gone from an 18-year-old kid to a 30-year-old man, and she'd gone from a 6-year-old child to an 18-year-old young woman. We'd lie in the same bed, a fist's width of space between us. I could smell the fresh scent of her shampoo, feel the warmth radiating from her. You're a grown woman now, and you're still scared of a little thunder? She'd bury her face in my chest, her voice muffled. As long as you're here, I'll always be your little girl. She started working part-time on weekends, teaching kids how to draw. The day she got her first paycheck, she excitedly dragged me to the most high-end mall downtown. Jax, I'm buying you clothes. She pushed me into a men's boutique and held a crisp, white button-down against my chest. I glanced at the price tag, $1,800. A lifetime of poverty kicked in, and I immediately shook my head. No way, that's insane. I'm a grown man. I can wear anything. It doesn't matter. But she was stubborn, grabbing my arm to keep me from leaving. She stood on her toes to fix my collar, her eyes getting a little misty. Jax, you've given me so much. I want to do something for you, too. You can't keep wearing these old clothes. Under her insistence, I reluctantly tried on the shirt. The man in the mirror was sharp, clean. He looked 10 years younger. I barely recognized myself. Ava's eyes sparkled like they were filled with starlight. It's perfect, she breathed. Seeing her look so proud and happy, something shifted inside me. For the first time, it hit me with absolute clarity. The little girl I had raised was truly grown up. She wasn't the kid who needed my protection anymore. She was starting to want to take care of me. As I stood there, lost in thought, she leaned in close to my ear and whispered, her voice a secret just for us. You look so handsome in this, Jax. Her breath was a warm, ticklish whisper against my skin. My heart skipped a beat. An unfamiliar emotion bloomed in my chest. Ding. Target's darkness value has decreased to 10%. Patches' voice chimed in right on cue, pulling me back from the edge of that feeling. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. 12 years. This long mission was finally almost over. Raising Ava was like fixing my own childhood. I had given that lonely, helpless version of myself everything he had ever wanted. But as I looked down into her shining eyes, a pang of reluctance I didn't want to admit to settled in my heart. On the way home, I happened to glance at her phone screen. Her lock screen was a picture of me in that white shirt, looking awkward in front of the mirror. She must have taken it when I wasn't looking. For the night before Ava's 18th birthday, another thunderstorm rolled in. Lightning flashed, and rain hammered against the windows. Just like countless stormy nights before, she came into my room with her pillow and slipped into my bed. I turned on my side, looking at her silhouette in the darkness. You're going to be an adult tomorrow. Still scared of thunder? I asked, my voice softer than I intended. She found my hand in the dark, squeezed it, and snuggled closer. With you here, I'm always a kid. I stroked her hair, my mind a tangled mess. Tomorrow, she would be 18. My mission would be over. I hesitated, then spoke in a tone more serious than any I'd ever used with her. Ava, tomorrow you'll be a real adult. I can't be with you forever. If one day I'm gone, you have to be okay on your own, you understand? You have to be good. It was meant as a farewell, but she didn't seem to catch on. She just snuggled deeper, nodding sweetly. I'll always be good, because you'll always be with me. Then she looked up, her curiosity piqued. Jax, I'm about to be an adult, but you still look so young. You haven't changed at all. You look exactly the same as when I first met you. My heart hammered in my chest. That was the system's doing, something I could never tell her. I had to stick to the lie I'd been telling for 12 years. That's because I want to be with you forever. I don't want to get old. The moment the words left my mouth, Patches' cold, mechanical voice sounded in my head. Ding. Target Ava Callahan's darkness value has reached 0. Mission complete. Host may choose to exit the world at any time. This was it. The moment had finally arrived. I let out a long sigh, as if a massive weight had been lifted from my shoulders. But at the same time, an overwhelming emptiness washed over me. I looked at the girl in my arms, who had already drifted off to sleep with a sweet smile on her face, lost in a pleasant dream. On one side, $20 million and the freedom I'd always craved. On the other, the girl I had personally raised and cherished for 12 years. My head and my heart were at war. In the end, my head won. I'm just a scumbag who'd sell his soul for money, not some kind of saint. Exit the world, I told Patches. I left all the money I'd saved over the years on her nightstand, in a debit card with a pin set to her birthday. It was the last thing I could do for her. While she slept, my body dissolved into particles of light, starting from my fingertips and fading into the air. It was silent, seamless, as if I had never existed at all. Just before my consciousness left that world for good, I thought I heard her whisper in her sleep, "Jax, don't go." The next morning, sunlight streamed through a gap in the curtains. Ava woke up and habitually reached for the space beside her. Her hand met a cold, empty sheet. She shot upright, her heart seizing. "Jax!" The room was empty. The presence she had relied on for 12 years was gone. She scrambled out of the room, frantically searching every corner of the apartment. "Jax! Jackson!" Only a dead silence answered her. She stumbled back into the bedroom and saw the debit card on the nightstand. She snatched it, her knuckles white, her nails digging into her own palm. She collapsed onto the cold floor, tears streaming silently down her face. "Jax, you're leaving me too?" It was all a lie. Everything was a lie. The light in her eyes flickered and died, replaced by a darkness far deeper and more terrifying than anything I had seen 12 years ago. 5 back in my familiar, dingy apartment, I stared at the $20 million balance on my phone, feeling like I'd just returned from another planet. I was free. I was rich. I never had to live that godforsaken life again. The first day, I indulged in some revenge spending. I ordered the most expensive delivery, a 10-course meal that covered my entire table. I bought a top-of-the-line gaming PC and played for an entire day straight. I lay in bed and scrolled through TikTok until my eyes burned. I reveled in the long-lost feeling of wealth and freedom, trying to fill the void that had opened up in my chest. But late at night, when everything was quiet, Ava's face would flash in my mind. Her tear-streaked face asking, "You're leaving me too?" An unsettling emptiness gnawed at me. Was she searching for me like a madwoman? Was she sitting alone in that empty apartment, crying until she couldn't breathe? I ran a hand through my hair in frustration. "Stop thinking about it, Jackson," I told myself. It was just a hyper-realistic simulation game, a side effect of the mission. I forced my eyes shut. The next day, I slept until noon. I was jolted awake by the sound of Patches' heart-wrenching wails. "Host, it's over. We're screwed. The mission is a failure. They're going to take back the reward." I sat bolt upright, all sleepiness gone. "What are you talking about? The mission was complete." Patches' voice was breaking. "After you left, Ava woke up and found you had vanished without a trace, no record of your existence anywhere. She instantly broke down. Her darkness value went off the charts, shattering the dimensional threshold. My mind went blank. But it's only been a day. One of your days is 10 of her years. That sentence hit me like a lightning bolt. She spent 10 years looking for you, and she went insane for 10 years. 10 years. My mind was a complete void. The girl I had raised for 12 years was left all alone, lost to madness for a decade. Headquarters sent over a dozen other agents to try and fix it, gold tier, platinum tier, all of them. She killed them all. That world is now a forbidden zone, and it's about to collapse. A wave of regret washed over me. I had pulled her out of hell, only to shove her back into an even deeper abyss. Just then, a fluffy calico cat materialized in front of me. It was Patches in physical form. It rubbed its furry head against my hand, its blue eyes welling with tears as it looked at me pleadingly. "Host, you're the only one who can save her now. Everything in that world happened because of you, and only you can fix it. Please go back." Looking at its cute, desperate face, I thought of the girl. The 6-year-old who bit my arm and wouldn't let go. The 18-year-old who snuggled in my arms. The now 28-year-old madwoman who had been searching for me for 10 years. My heart felt like it was being squeezed in a vice. I gritted my teeth. "Fine. I'll go back. The white light flared again, consuming me. When I opened my eyes, a sharp voice pierced my ears. "Look alive. What are you staring at? Get back to work." I found myself dressed in a cheap waiter's uniform, standing in a lavishly decorated hall. My body was once again that of my 18-year-old self. "Host, this was the fastest way I could arrange for you to see her," Patches said in my head. Before I could process anything, a woman in a sharp business suit, a manager by the looks of it, marched over. She scanned our line of waiters with a critical eye, her voice stern. "Miss Callahan is on her way here for a meeting. I want you all on your absolute best behavior. If any of you upsets her, you can just disappear from the face of the earth." Ms. Callahan? A jolt went through me. Could it be? I didn't dare let the thought finish. 10 years. What had she become? Would she even recognize me? The heavy doors of the club were pushed open from the outside. In an instant, the entire hall fell silent. Ava Callahan walked in, flanked by a phalanx of bodyguards in black suits. She moved like a queen surveying her domain. I hid behind the other waiters, my eyes fixed on her, my heart pounding in my chest. She had changed. 10 years had carved deep lines into her being. She wore a perfectly tailored, high-fashion black pantsuit, her long hair swept up in an elegant bun that exposed the graceful line of her neck. Her face was more beautiful than a decade ago, but it was as cold as ice. The familiar eyes held no warmth, only a detached, weary indifference that kept the world at a distance. This was my little sister at 28. Patches informed me that she was now the undisputed business magnate of the city, at the helm of a vast corporate empire. I couldn't articulate the mix of pride, pain, and fear swirling inside me. Accompanying her was a handsome man in a white suit. When I saw his face, I was taken aback. He looked about 50% like me. No, it was more than just his features. The way he walked, the slight curve of his smile, even the way he subtly furrowed his brow. He was deliberately imitating me. "He's an agent from another system. His name is Ethan Vance," Patches explained in my head. "He's probably trying to mimic you to take your place." A wave of disgust washed over me. This clumsy imitation was an insult to the 12 years Ava and I had shared. Ava's gaze swept across the hall, as cold and impersonal as if she were looking at furniture. I instinctively lowered my head, trying to blend in. I was afraid. I had no idea how she would react if she saw me. Ecstatic joy or murderous rage? Her eyes passed over me for less than half a second before moving on, without a flicker of recognition. She didn't know me, or rather, in her eyes, I was just another anonymous person in a waiter's uniform. I didn't know if I was relieved or disappointed. They sat down at a reserved table. My manager, Lisa, gave me a shove. "What are you spacing out for? Go serve Miss Callahan and Mr. Vance their tea." I picked up the tray and walked toward them, my head bowed. Every step felt like walking on broken glass. I could feel Ava's gaze on me, cold, appraising, and heavy with an unspoken pressure. I didn't dare look up, keeping my eyes fixed on the hand she had placed on the table. They were elegant, with long fingers, but so pale they were almost translucent. These were not the hands of the little girl who used to cling to my waist. I gently placed the teacup in front of her. Just as I was about to retreat, Ethan Vance spoke. He intentionally lowered his voice, adopting a gentle, familiar tone that I knew all too well. "Ava." My feet froze to the floor. 7 the moment he said her name, the temperature around the table dropped to freezing. Ava, who had been reaching for her teacup, paused. She slowly raised her head to look at Ethan. Her previously placid face was now dark enough to storm. Ethan, completely oblivious to the impending danger, continued his heartfelt performance. "Ava, about this project, I think we could— Who gave you the right to call me that?" Ava's voice was quiet but laced with ice. Each word landed like a hammer blow on everyone present. The smile froze on Ethan's face. Before he could explain, Ava moved without warning. She was a blur of motion. All I saw was a flicker, and then she had him by the throat, lifting him clean out of his chair. A collective gasp went through the room. "You dare wear that face, deliberately copy his mannerisms, and call me by that name?" Ava held a full-grown man in the air with one hand, her expression completely effortless. Her eyes churned with a terrifying storm of rage and despair. "I know exactly what you're trying to do," she hissed. but cheap imitations like you only deserve one thing. 2D. Her fingers tightened, inch by inch. Ethan's face turned crimson, veins bulging on his forehead as his feet dangled uselessly in the air. He refused to give up, forcing out a few words through his constricted throat. The person you love abandoned you. He was a liar. You might as well love me. Those words were like gasoline on a fire. The murderous intent in Ava's eyes reached a boiling point. You're asking for it. Ms. Callahan, please calm down. A woman in a business suit, her assistant, I presumed, rushed forward to plead with her. I recognized her from the file Patches gave me, Amanda Young. But Ava ignored her completely, the pressure in her hand increasing. Ethan's face was turning a deep shade of purple. He was seconds from being strangled to death. I couldn't just stand there anymore. I couldn't watch her kill someone, especially not a fellow agent from my world. I burst out from the line of waiters and yelled at her back. Ava, stop. The shout took every ounce of strength I had. Killing him is a crime. Is that what I taught you? The entire hall went dead silent. Ava's body went rigid. The hand choking Ethan froze in midair. Time seemed to stand still. Every eye in the room was on me. Shocked, confused, bewildered. But my eyes were locked on that stiff, unmoving back. Ava let go. Ethan collapsed to the floor, clutching his throat and coughing violently. She didn't turn around, but I could sense every muscle in her body was coiled tight, like a fully drawn bow. Slowly, inch by excruciating inch, she turned to face me. When she saw my face, the same face from her memory, unchanged by time, there was no trace of joy in her eyes. Instead, an even deeper despair and rage erupted from her. Another one, she whispered, her voice laced with exhaustion and disgust. This time, the face and voice are identical. The next second, she was striding toward me. The sharp click of her heels on the marble floor was rapid and menacing. I instinctively took a step back. She grabbed me by the neck and slammed me against the cold wall. The impact sent a jolt of pain through my back. You liars! Her face was inches from mine, and I could see the bloodshot veins in her eyes. You all deserve to die. No one is allowed to imitate him. No one. The world started to go dark as she squeezed. I couldn't breathe. I desperately clawed at her hand, forcing a few words from my throat. Let go. You've really lost it. In my mind, I was screaming, Patches. Help me. Patches's voice was tearful. I can't host. Her darkness value is too high. I can't interfere. This is it. I'm going to be killed by the girl I raised. Just as my consciousness began to fade, an idea flashed through my mind. I stopped struggling. With the last of my strength, I raised my hand. Gently, just as I had done countless times before, I caressed her cheek. My fingertips were cold. Her skin was fever hot. The moment I touched her, her entire body shuddered. The pressure on my neck eased just slightly. She leaned in closer, sniffing frantically at my neck like an animal identifying a scent. It was a scent she had relied on for 12 years, a scent ingrained in her very soul. The next second, the hand on my throat released me. Instead, she threw her arms around me, holding me so tightly I felt like my bones would grind into hers. Her head was buried in my shoulder, her body trembling violently. I heard a choked, broken sob. Jax, I'm sorry, did I hurt you? It's really you. You finally came back. Warm tears soaked the collar of my shirt. My stiff body finally relaxed. I raised a hand and gently patted her back. Just then, she pulled back and cupped my face in her hands. Without another word, she kissed me. It was a desperate, frantic kiss, tasting of salt and blood, filled with the wild ecstasy of having found what was lost. After a long moment, she pulled away, a thin, silvery strand connecting our lips in the dim light. She licked her lips and looked at me, her voice hoarse. Jax, why are you a waiter? Did you come back specifically to serve me? A dangerous, obsessive light glinted in her eyes. Don't worry, brother, she whispered. This time, I'm never letting you run away again. I'm going to savor you, and I'm going to keep you. 9, ignoring the stunned look from everyone in the room. Ava swept me off my feet and carried me out bridal style. The absurdity of it, a 6-foot-tall man being effortlessly carried by a slender woman, was not lost on me. Ms. Callahan, Amanda Young hurried after us, looking panicked. The situation here, you handle it, Ava said coldly, not breaking her stride as she carried me out of the club, leaving behind a mess and a traumatized Ethan Vance collapsed on the floor. She took me to a heavily guarded villa nestled in the hills. The place was massive and dripping with luxury. The walk-in closet was filled with designer clothes, all for me, from casual wear to formal suits, every size perfect. The fridge was stocked with gourmet food from around the world. A home theater, a gym, an indoor pool, every possible amenity was there. I had everything, except the right to leave. She did, however, take me with her when she had to handle business. I would sit next to her in the boardroom, a silent, ornamental presence, while dozens of top executives delivered their reports. During meetings, her expression was pure ice, her critiques sharp and merciless. But every few minutes, she would turn her head to look at me, and her gaze would soften. It was no longer cold, but filled with a possessive love and a deep-seated fear that I might vanish again. I tried to talk to her to ask about the last 10 years, but she would just hold me, burying her face in my neck like a small animal seeking comfort. Don't ask, Jax. As long as you don't leave me again, the past doesn't matter. She pulled back, stroking my face. You're still the same. You look exactly like you did when we first met. But I've gotten old. Ava has. You're not disgusted with me, are you? Seeing the raw vulnerability in her eyes, I quickly shook my head. Don't be silly. How could I ever be disgusted with my Ava? In my eyes, you'll always be my good girl. My words seemed to soothe her, as she smiled brightly. But a moment later, the smile vanished. You disappeared for so many years without a word. The last time you kissed me, I was 10, and it was on my forehead. This time, I'm taking it all back. With that, she forced my mouth open and kissed me again. Everything about you is mine. There were no chains in the villa, but hidden cameras were in every corner. All the windows were made of custom bulletproof glass that couldn't be opened from the outside. I felt like a canary in a gilded cage. To keep her from spiraling, I played my part, pampering and coaxing her, hoping to return to the warm dynamic we once had. But she was constantly trying to dominate me, always pressing herself against me. I went from resisting to just wearily enduring it. She would lie on top of me, purring like a satisfied cat. Remember, Jax? I used to love sleeping while holding on to you. It was the only time I felt safe. I play along, rubbing her head. Yeah, I remember. Her moods were a roller coaster, one moment gentle as water, the next explosive as fire. I had Patches run a diagnostic. Host, her darkness value is still hovering around 30%. That was an extremely dangerous number. I realized then that as long as her deep-seated fear of me disappearing wasn't resolved, I could trigger another collapse at any moment. Another thunderstorm rolled in. Just like when she was a child, she came to my room with her pillow. But this time, she wasn't seeking comfort. She lay beside me and wrapped her arms around me like steel bands, her strength astonishing. She whispered in my ear over and over again, "You can't run this time, Jax. Don't ever even think about it." I'm scared of thunder. I've always been scared. You're the only thing that makes it stop. All those years, on nights like this, I slept holding that debit card in your old clothes. I'm not letting you go again. Her voice cracked at the end, and her body started to tremble. A pang of pain shot through my heart. I reached up and gently wiped the tears from her face. "What are you crying for?" I soothed. "I'm right here, aren't I? You won't look pretty if your face is all tear-stained. I'm not going anywhere this time. I swear." To reassure her, I leaned in and pressed a gentle kiss to her cold lips. She froze. Then, realization dawned. "You kissed me," she whispered. "You started it?" She looked as if she'd been granted a divine miracle, her eyes shining. The next second, she grabbed the back of my head, refusing to let me pull away and deepen the kiss. It was ravenous, predatory, leaving me no room to breathe. We must have kissed for 6 minutes straight. I felt like all the air had been sucked from my lungs and had to tap her on the back. "Let go. I can't breathe." When she finally pulled back, she licked her lips, a silver thread still connecting us. "An eager brother," she purred. "How delicious." Ethan Vance, the man Ava had nearly killed, hadn't given up. Consumed by jealousy, he was in his safe house, watching security footage of Ava and me. He smashed everything in the room in a rage. "Why? Why him?" he screamed. "I look just like him. Why won't she even give me a second glance? His useless system only fanned the flames. Host data indicates that since Jackson Rivers appeared, Ava Callahan's darkness value has dropped significantly. If you don't act now, he's going to complete your mission. Not only will you lose the reward, but you'll be penalized for failure. Ethan's eyes were bloodshot. He knew conventional methods were useless. Ava's heart and mind were completely occupied by one man, Jackson Rivers. Unless Jackson Rivers disappeared for good. He needed an accomplice, someone who could get close to me and had Ava's trust. He thought of Amanda Young, the competent, all-purpose executive assistant who had pleaded for him at the club. Ethan used his system to dig into Amanda's background and discovered her secret crush on him. She was the perfect pawn. He contacted her privately, not revealing his true intentions, but putting on a mask of deep concern. Amanda, you've been by Ms. Callahan's side the longest. Haven't you noticed how unwell she's been lately? That man, Jackson, his origins are a mystery. His appearance is too convenient. He's not her brother. He's an imposter, and he's going to hurt her. He relentlessly fed her the idea that I was a dangerous fake. Amanda, who had watched Ava cancel important meetings and obsessively hole up in the villa, was already having doubts. Ava's sick dependency and possessiveness were alarming. Confused by Ethan's narrative of saving Ava from a predator and blinded by her own feelings for him, her loyalty wavered. "What should I do?" she asked. A triumphant, vicious smirk spread across Ethan's face. He laid out his despicable plan. "It's simple. You help me get him out of the villa. Then, leave the handling to me." "Handling?" Amanda asked, a shiver of fear running down her spine. "Yes, disposing of him," Ethan said calmly. A dangerous con man has no place by Ms. Callahan's side. His plan was to make it look like I had fled out of guilt. With no body and no evidence, what could Ava do? Once I was gone, he could be there to comfort her, to heal her, and he would have another chance. Amanda hesitated. She couldn't bring herself to betray the boss who trusted her so completely. Seeing her hesitation, Ethan delivered the final blow. He took her hands, his eyes full of fake sincerity. "Amanda, I'm doing this for her. And for us. Once this is over and I secure the partnership with her company, you won't be an assistant anymore. You'll be my wife, the wife of a CEO." Amanda's defenses crumbled. As the only person who could freely enter the villa and handle my food, she became the key to the entire plan. She agreed. That evening, Amanda brought me a bowl of super self. "Mr. Rivers, Miss Callahan had this specially made for you, to build up your strength." Her gaze was shifty, but I didn't think anything of it. I drank the soup without an ounce of suspicion. It tasted delicious, but after I finished, my eyelids grew heavy, and soon everything went black. 11 I woke up in an abandoned factory. My hands and feet were bound tightly to a cold iron chair with coarse rope. The air smelled of rust and dust. Ethan Vance stood in front of me, a sadistic grin on his face. "You're awake," he said, tapping my cheek with a crowbar. "Hello, fellow traveler. We meet again." I stared at his face, so similar to my own, yet twisted by jealousy. My blood ran cold. "Where's Amanda?" "Oh, that stupid woman." Ethan sneered. "She served her purpose, so I got rid of her." "You're really something, you know? You've got the main character wrapped around your little finger. But that ends now. Like a cliché villain," he gloated. "Why? Why do you get her without doing anything? I spent years. I copied you, studied you. I became a better version of you. And her? She wouldn't even look at me. I'm the protagonist here. I'm the chosen one. You're the one who should die, so I can finish my mission." He grew more agitated, raising the crowbar to smash it down on my head. Meanwhile, back at the villa, all hell was breaking loose. After finishing an urgent document, Ava returned to the room to find me gone. At first, she thought I was in another part of the house, but she searched every room, and there was no sign of me. A terrifying panic, the same kind she'd felt that morning 10 years ago, seized her. "Jax," she called out, her voice trembling. She raced to the security room and pulled up the surveillance footage. She saw it all. Me drinking the soup from Amanda, slumping over at the table, and then a group of strange men carrying my unconscious body out. Amanda stood by, watching coldly. An Arctic chill washed over Ava. She immediately called Amanda. When Amanda answered, she was still trying to play dumb. "Miss Callahan, where are you?" Ava's voice was terrifyingly calm. Amanda gave her an address. 10 minutes later, Ava was standing outside her apartment building. She looked at the woman who had been her most trusted employee for 8 years, her eyes devoid of all warmth. "Where is he?" "Miss Callahan, I don't know what you're talking about." "Mr. Rivers, he probably just went out on his own." Before Amanda could finish her lie, Ava stepped forward, grabbed her arm, and twisted it back with brutal force. Crack! "Oh!" Amanda shrieked, collapsing to the ground and clutching her broken arm. "My patience is limited," Ava said, looking down at her, her voice flat. "Tell me where he is." Broken by pain and fear, Amanda confessed everything, sobbing out my location and Ethan's entire plan. A firestorm of fury ignited in Ava's eyes. She left Amanda, screaming on the pavement, took out her phone, and dialed a number. "Everyone, gear up. East Side, abandoned steel mill. I want you there in 5 minutes." Hanging up, she moved like a black tempest, speeding toward the factory. She muttered under her breath, her voice dripping with venomous, murderous intent. "They dared touch my Jacks. I'll make them wish they were never born. It's true. Everyone in this world deserves to die. Only my brother is good." 12 inside the abandoned factory, Ethan raised a rusty steel crowbar over my head. He was going for a clean kill, no witnesses. Jackson!" he screamed, his face a mask of insanity. I closed my eyes, bracing for the end. Boom! The factory's heavy iron door was kicked open from the outside. Blinding light flooded the dark space. Ava stood silhouetted against it, radiating pure, unadulterated rage. She saw me tied to the chair, beaten and helpless. Her eyes instantly turned blood red. "Let him go." Her voice was quiet, but it dropped the temperature in the factory by 20 degrees. Ethan's hired goons were startled, but still charged forward on his command. "Get her! Stop her!" What followed was a one-sided slaughter. Ava moved through them herself. Her attacks were vicious, efficient, and lethal. There was no finesse, only raw power and speed. One man who tried to attack her from behind was sent flying into a wall without her even turning around, where he collapsed, coughing up blood. Another who rushed her with a knife was disarmed, and the knife was plunged into his own thigh. Ethan's men were lambs to the slaughter. Soon, the factory floor was littered with groaning bodies. Ava walked step by step toward Ethan, who was now paralyzed with fear on the ground. Her eyes promised death. Seeing her approach, Ethan completely broke down. He pointed a trembling finger at me. "Why? Why do you get to win her over without doing anything? Is my system not strong enough? What is this useless piece of crap? I'm the protagonist. I'm the one with the system." One of Ava's men had already untied me. I flexed my numb wrists and walked over to the hysterical Ethan. I slammed my foot onto his head, grinding his face into the dusty concrete floor. I looked down at him and said, enunciating every word, "You're wrong. I didn't do nothing. I did more than any of you ever could, because the only person she has ever loved from the very beginning is me." I turned away from his pathetic whimpering. Ava wrapped her arms around me from behind, holding me tightly. Her body was trembling with the aftershock of her fear. "Jax, I'm sorry I was late." I turned and pulled her into my arms, gently patting her back. "It's okay. It's all over." In the aftermath, Ethan and Amanda faced the consequences of their actions. I thought things would finally get better. But Patches told me Ava's darkness value was still stubbornly stuck at 30%. I finally understood. The kidnapping, the betrayal, those weren't the root of her trauma. I was. The possibility that I might, once again, just disappear without a trace. Unless that fear was eradicated, she would never truly be at peace. Our relationship was a ticking time bomb. 13 to solve the problem once and for all. I decided to tell Ava everything. I sat her down on a sun-drenched afternoon and told her the whole truth. The system, the mission, where I came from, why I left the first time, everything. With Patches' help, I even showed her the system itself. The fluffy calico cat materialized in front of her. She was surprised, but not scared. She listened to my entire story with a calm expression, showing no anger or hysteria. When I finished, she was silent for a long time. Then she looked up at me and asked softly, "So, everything you did for me, it was all fake? You raised me for 12 years just for $20 million. I looked into her eyes, which were no longer filled with obsession and madness, but with a deep, bottomless sorrow. My heart ached as if it were being pierced by needles. I answered her with absolute conviction. My reason for approaching you was fake, but raising you for 12 years, giving you everything, feeling my heart break for you, being proud of you, every bit of that was real. She laughed, a broken, unhealthy sound. Then her gaze turned incredibly determined. I don't care who you are or where you came from. All I know is that you're my Jax, and you are not allowed to leave me again. I knew that verbal promises were no longer enough. I had to give her a permanent solution, something that would finally put her mind at ease. Working with Patches, I came up with a radical idea. Ava, I can take you with me, out of this world, to see where I'm from, to prove to you that I'm never going to run again. She agreed without hesitation. Okay. To completely eliminate her fears, Patches presented her with a unique opportunity, a special contract. If you conceive a child with your brother, that child will be born with the ability to travel between the two worlds. This means that as long as you are with the child, you will be able to find your brother no matter which universe he runs to. This is the only way to maintain a stable link between the two realities. Ava's eyes lit up. My face darkened. In the real world, inside my tiny apartment, Ava looked around the completely unfamiliar environment with curiosity. Then she turned to me and smiled. The next second, she shoved me onto the bed. She straddled me, her eyes a bewitching and dominant mix, and began unbuttoning my shirt. Husband, to make sure you never run away again, I think we should get pregnant as soon as possible. Nearby, the materialized Patches covered its eyes with its front paws. The cat's high-pitched voice squeaked, "Oh my, I can't watch. You two should be more civilized. Hey, host, where did your shirt go? And your pants?" Ava shot an annoyed glance. "He's my husband. What are you looking at?" Patches peeked through a gap in its paws. "Well, I'm a female cat system, and I'd like to learn some new things.